Let me get my participants. Rename. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jared. I'll be your Lunch and Learn host for today. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and I'll answer it to the best of my abilities. And I'll also try to demonstrate or show it. If not, if I can't demonstrate or show it, then what I'll do is I can create a tiny project offline and I'll email it to you. So, but one of the two is what we'll do. All right, we got 2 people. I did have a pre-submitted question. This submitted question basically just asked that, hey, does Decisions allow us to create forms that can output to a PDF in other languages? We have a user that has to have a form be filled out an email in Spanish. The form will originally be filled out in English. So there's no default way to do this in Decisions where you can just say, hey, change to a different language. What we would recommend is you can API integrate to a lot of other translation APIs that will help you accomplish this goal, because there's no way to do this in an easy automated way in Decisions, right? You could say, hey, if you want to translate that PDF in English, like you can get all the text, create a truth table of all the translated words, but it's not dynamic, right? And it wouldn't capture all the words. So that's why what we recommend is, since Decisions is a very flexible application where you can integrate with the translation APIs, integrate with the translation API, the data that was previously filled from in English, send that to the translation API. It will send back the Spanish, and then you could put that text back into the set PDF form field steps, and then send that on over. So that'd be the best way I'd recommend to handle that. Mark asks, say I run a flow successfully, and as an endpoint, it returns a flow tracking ID. How and where can I use that flow tracking ID? That's a great question. So essentially what the flow tracking ID is used for is it allows you to kind of like, you can go to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you can roll back depending on what your flow does, right? So don't take this as like every time, but depending on how your flow works, you can use that tracking ID to get your process to go back to a certain part of your flow. So what you can do is you can, let me show you where that ends up. So if I gotta run a flow. Run a flow, gotta run the flow. All right, do I got an assignment? I'm gonna make this an assignment real quick. And I'm gonna assign this to me, but I'm not gonna fill it out. I gotta give it a name. We'll say this is test. And this action is test. All right, and I'm just gonna run this a couple times. Run flow. I'm not gonna fill out this assignment. I'm just gonna run flow. I'm not gonna fill out this assignment. All right. So what is that flow tracking ID used for? Well, the flow tracking ID, basically when you send a process, Decisions, depending on how you have it set up, it may have steps that will pause that workflow. And we'll say, hey, I'm waiting for a user to interact with this before I go on to the next step, right? And so the reason why I created this process and just ran a couple of assignments is because now you can see that flow inside this report in the administration systems folder. I think it's called flow management, and you can see the current flows that are working in this process. And so that tracking ID allows you to be able to say, hey, I want to kill a certain flow. I want to be able to look at a certain flow. But in an applicable environment, you're going to have a lot of flows, potentially a lot of flows here. And there is a column field called primary flow tracking ID, right? Or flow tracking ID. So to go to your question directly, Mark, what this does is the tracking ID is helpful because in this report, if you have to go to a certain flow and filter this report, you can paste the flow tracking ID here and just see those flows that are associated with that tracking ID. Because remember, this report shows every process, my process, Josh's process, Menel's process, right? It shows everyone's process, but you need to make an edit just to your flow that's running. So hence why we have the flow tracking ID, so you can filter this report and only augment or kind of kill the flows that you don't need anymore, instead of actually killing other live flows. Yep. All right. Menel asks, is there a way to have an external link for users to access the specific form? Yeah, absolutely. So it's very interesting. In decisions, there's no integration capabilities for forms directly, right? So I just want to preface that directly. How we integrate with decisions is you can integrate with flows, rules, reports, and dashboards. Those are the 4 primary things that people integrate with. So if I have a form, how do I integrate with that form? That's kind of the question that we have to ask. So I'm going to go to my project. I'm going to go into Flow 2, and we're going to show this. So let's say I have a form. So let me just pick one of those forms, show form. So in order to integrate with a form, right, and display that to an end user where I can say, hey, Mark, here's a link. Click on this link, fill out this form for me, right? What you have to do is you will pick your form, pick existing, recent. We'll do the form I like. I don't know if I like it anymore, but because it says I like it, I guess I'll pick it. All right. And notice in the flow, I have configure integration. And when I click on this, I'll have an option to set up a user interface. When I click on the setup user interface, and then I view the of the integration details of this, then I'll get the opportunity to say, hey, how do I want to display this, this link? How do I want, the form to look? Do I want it maximized? Do I want it centered? Do I want, right, have a background? So you can set up all the designs there you want. What's the off way you want to do it? Do you want it to be able to, someone to have to log in? Do you want someone to use a named session? Do you want just no one to be able to know what it's running decisions and just go in as a guest? Many things you can do here. Excuse me. So essentially what this looks like is when you get this, I could give this if it wasn't my local, if it was actually like a server on the internet, I can give this to someone else. And when I run it, it's going to pop up this form. And you can see I have this form maximized. Now, if I don't like it that it's maximized, I can easily say, hey, I want this centered. Hey, I want to specify like the height and weight. I'm just going to say the maximize auto size. And so now when I do that, if I copy this, put this here, run it, and you'll see, oops, let's do auto. And then you'll see that it will change the size of that form to where it doesn't show, it as a maximized thing. So that's how that happens there. Go ahead, Manal, I'll allow you to talk.
Hello, just a quick question regarding this. So we have a link, but is there any way to like make it completely anonymous because it has a server name in it in ours? So for example, if it's cam.com, it does camforms.dev-dev.cam.com. Is there any way we can take that off and it's just like anyone can open that link because we just want them to have an access to the form?
Yeah, do you want basically you're saying you want to like remove like this part up top here?
Yeah, because whenever they do it, it's asked for them to put in credentials, and they don't have those credentials. It's just a link.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. So essentially, what you'd have to do is we actually have this set up. I want to show you. To make
Because
sure
I
that
try to do
this is
the
the
guest
feature.
account, and they don't want the guest account either. They don't want to set up any credentials. They just want the link to the form and be able to fill it out.
Right. So like over here. So I think it's this one. So like you click this button and just a form appears, right?
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. So that actually utilizes the guest account to do that. I think it's the only way to get that functionality is you just have to make sure that the guest account doesn't have access to log into the portal. It just has can use permissions just to use features. And then like it won't even if they get to the background of what decisions is, it won't even show them that. It's just going to say, hey, here it is. Or here's just a form to fill out. Once they fill it out, flow ends. Now, I think there's a let me go to there's a couple places that you would have to set that up. So for example, if I wanted that integration form, my Flow 2 to be used, you just have to set up the perms for, can you add guest? I think you can't. You can't. To the all users group, or you can set up another group for the guest to be a part of, and then you can put the guest in there. But that's I think that's the only way you can do it unless you do a name session, and you could do it that way if that's preferred.
Gotcha. Because I did the guest and then I added the guest account has their permissions. But even now, so for example, I'm not on the server on my phone and I try to open that link and it's asked me for credentials still.
On the integration, did you change the setup to guest?
Yes, I did. And then
Okay,
it
so
just gives the link with that still like camforms-dev.cam.com, which is what is the server name.
Yeah, so you're talking about removing this. I see. You're talking about
Yes.
obfuscating this. Okay, so
Hmm.
I see. I misunderstood. I'm actually not sure. I'll have to take that one offline and find out. I don't know. Hold on a second. I'm gonna have someone. Yeah, I don't think I'll just talk to one of my guys. I don't think there's a way to obfuscate that. I'll do a little bit more digging, just to
Hmm.
verify or see if maybe there's a way we can like, I don't know, encode the URL so that it looks different. Um, but I'll check. Can you put your email in the chat and I'll find out?
Yeah, sure. So even with a guest account, do they still have to log in, are you saying? Right? They have to create an account. Or I'll just put my email in and then if you can let me know, that would be great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Once I do more
Hmm.
research, I can let you know. Do you another question for you
Hmm.
though? Do you know if your decisions architecture setup has a load balancer
As a load
in it?
balancer, what does no, I am not sure, but I can ask that with my
Okay,
manager.
yeah, that'd be a good thing to ask because I think one of my guys just said you can use the load balancer to have a different URL and then just have it point to, and then like that load balancer knows, oh, this URL for I don't know, HTTPS filloutmyforms.com. I don't know. It points to your decisions prod server, and that'd be a way you could obfuscate it to where it doesn't go to, what a user sees is just forms.tofillout.com and then their
Mhm.
form instead of right decisions prod / primary and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be because it's just like they just want a link. As soon as you click it, it can be somebody in Colorado, doesn't have any
Hmm.
access to like our network, and they just be able to fill out the form.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's all we need. And I thought I did it with the guest account, but it's asking for them to create an account, and they're like, whoa, whoa, why do I have to create an account as
Hmm.
even as a guest?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you would always need to have an account to access decisions. But you can use it. Some people also do name sessions because that just gives you like this ID, and then you
Mhm.
can restrict. It's kind of like a service account for like Windows, right? You can restrict it to where it just has access to like this project and nothing else, and then like it will make sure that it doesn't have access to anything else. But I don't think
Okay.
there's any way to go around like there always need to be an account to access something.
Gotcha. And Jared,
Hmm.
just last thing, I joined a
Sure.
little late. That was my question for like if we can create a form in Spanish or like do in other languages. Do you have any
Hmm.
documentation on that? Anywhere where I can do the PDF in conversion of emails and all that in Spanish?
Yeah, well, the hard part is there's no easy way to do that in decisions, right?
Oh,
I think
okay.
a bad recommendation that I could
Mhm.
give, and I'll let you know and why I don't recommend this, is you can just have a truth table of all the different words in English and Spanish, and then it will translate it. But that's not
Ooh.
really helpful because there's a ton of words in both languages. Like I have a whole Spanish English dictionary,
Hmm.
of all those, that's like from Webster. So that's not the best way to do it. But I did find on my research, I think there was this really cool um, let's see, this lead, yeah. So I found this really cool. Um, I'm kind of like, I'll send you this link. It's basically just like an API, a free API translation tool that you might be able to use. That what you can do is since decisions can integrate with anything that's free API or like that's capable of API REST integration.
Hmm.
You can send your English text, into it, and then it will translate that into, Spanish. And then when you get that response from that, then you can fill out your PDF that way. So I'll put that in the chat if you want to investigate that. But that goes then a little bit beyond my
Okay.
area of expertise and just kind of,
Gotcha, because it's like a new project and they were asking if we can even do that in decisions. So do you think it's a good idea to even like take a project with has that requirement?
I think you would have to. I don't think there's any easy way to do that in decisions. You'd have to use something, whether it be Translate API or
Mhm.
Google API or something.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. This helps a lot.
Awesome. My pleasure. Let's see. All right. Now we have. All right, cool, cool. I got you. Got this one. My notepad. Put this here. Let's see. Boom. All right, cool. I'm gonna go back here. Let's see. Is Jeff asked, hey, is there a way that we can set the value of a custom property when posting a message to Azure Service Bus topic so that this property can be used to filter out subscriptions? Let's see. Is there a way? I'm gonna give you. Let me allow you to talk.
Hey, Darren, how you doing?
How's it going?
Good, good. Hey, this was a use case that recently came up, so we had an opportunity to use Azure Topics.
Mm-hmm.
And with an Azure topic, when you post a message to the queue, configure subscribers to the queue, such that only certain subscribers get the message if there's a certain value of the property message. But that property can't be part of the payload of what you call the message header, the sort of the envelope object that the message exists as. And you can do it in code. You can add a custom property to the message wrapper before you put the queue, but it looks like the post message step in decision sort of encapsulates that.
Okay.
So I was wondering if there was a way to access that or do that.
So the problem is it doesn't add that additional property into it, or it just changes it, or
it doesn't allow you to add a custom property to the top level wrapper object of a queue message, basically.
Gotcha. Okay, let me see. Let me see if someone else knows. I admittedly don't have too much experience with Azure Service Bus. So custom header to add custom header to a.
Yeah, so like you'd add a custom property to the message header to use for filtering on the topic.
Got it. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's a way I can create a quick example on that one. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that might be some setup to do that. So.
It would be. Let's see. I'll get your. If you want to post your email, I'll play around with it and see if maybe there's something I can find. If not, this may be a good support ticket question and have like a support technician like jump on with you and see if there is a way. There might be. I can't think of. What I'm thinking is the HTTP headers, which I know that's not what you're talking about because that's doing a REST call. You're doing something where you like one additional field on a message and you want to use that for filtering.
Yeah, so basically when you post a queue message on the queue, you have your payload, but that's one level down. So the message itself has its own JSON payload.
Sure.
And your payload is a property within that payload.
Correct.
And the only way you can filter a message from a topic is to add a custom property to that top level object.
Gotcha.
It's kind of weird. I've been doing some research to see if you can like create a filter based on drilling into the payload, but it doesn't allow you to do that.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I got your email. We'll do some research and I'll send you an email about that.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. I mistyped it, Alex. I just said yo quiero Taco Bell. That's all I said here. Did I spell it wrong? Oh, I think you're right. Never mind, I did spell it right. All right, any other questions? Alex, do you have a question? Other than you know why I went into computers and because I can't spell?
No questions, thanks.
Okay.
Jared, do you know anything about the version 9 beta?
Yeah, I know a little bit about it. So I think I think it's what is it? March or April timeframe is when I think there'll be a beta. Actually, I wonder where is he? Actually, Eric is in town right now.
Eric W?
Yep, Eric Wilmerink.
Oh, okay.
It's Eric.
Yeah, someone reached out a couple weeks ago and asked if I wanted to be in the version 9 beta. Took my information, but I guess if it's way off, maybe they were just getting a head start on it.
Yeah, it could be sooner. I know that the dates, it's a little, the date has fluctuated a little bit, so I'm not sure. When is? Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of cool things, happening in version 9. I think project views is gonna be a really cool thing, tying everything to a project from the get-go. What else? I know that's a big one. There's gonna be a way to add to-do lists for people to review things, for others, kind of like flows and stuff. So attached for like a project management feature there.
Yeah, I was just curious. I was down there earlier this year and I was working with Heath
Yeah.
on the project server, or the whatever you call them, the new deployment server now.
Yeah.
So I was looking to see some of that in action, I guess.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool.
Cool. Thanks, Jared.
My pleasure. All right. First, I just want to make sure I got through everything. So running Flow Fracking ID, got that one. Link to external form, got that. All right, cool. Awesome. All right. If there's no additional questions, I'll go ahead and see. I asked if I would be able to get to be a beta, but got no contact. I can follow up. I'll send your information to Eric W, Alex, and we'll see if, because you could be already in there. Like kind of like Jeff said, we haven't really, I don't think there's been action on it just yet. We haven't done the private beta just yet, but I'll follow up and find out. I know I haven't messed with it very much. Eric. I think the biggest thing for me, I'm excited about in version 9 is the debugger. I just like how you can choose. I think this is what they still have. I know with a couple of presentations I've seen where you can pick a piece of data you want to follow in the debugger, and as the debugger executes, it will show you where that data goes, and then like you can even see like, oh, I mismapped something and it disappeared, or hey, it got transformed to something else. So really cool stuff like that. Yes, you are on it, Alex. I just confirmed with Eric. They have you in it. I think they just hasn't started the beta yet. Let's see, Mark. Any chance you can show a decisions flow that uses an, oh, I missed this. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you posted this again, Mark. Any chance you can show a decisions flow that uses an async step or just describe it? Yeah, no, I can do that. That won't be too hard at all. So async steps, oh man, let me open up. There's a documentation because I want to define what async is. Let me go ahead and sit down for this. Get my reading posture on. All right. Let's see, async steps. Using runtime selection, about thread jobs, multi-threaded design, subflows. All right, so essentially what async steps are is they allow, oh, what? I think I'm in. Go in. Wait, remove some of this. Okay. So there's certain steps that would be considered async because they can either pause the workflow or you can use them to spawn on the process on other threads, and you can have whole processes that may need to have there we go, that's the word I'm looking, may need to be independent from the parent process that called it. So there's a couple steps that do that. So one step, since you asked about it, is the start linked flow async toolbox. Oh, I know why. This one, I think, if I can start linked. You've cursed me, Alex. Now I'm typing everything wrong because you pointed out my spelling. Thanks. Anyway, so start link flow async, right? It's basically a subflow step that allows users to run your process on a different work queue, either the default work queue in decisions, or you can specify another queue of work to be run, and you can specify that way, and then you can also you'll get the output of the tracking ID. So that's an example of an async step that will run. There is the what is it? There is the run flows for list right here. This step also allows you to change the run behavior where you can run it thread job async or async and wait, meaning the async and wait allows you to run the process asynchronously. But let's say there's data that you want back from that. You'll notice that the start linked async step just outputs a tracking ID. That's it. There's no way to get access to data that's inside of it. But there are some processes you may want to have access to that data. So we have this async and wait step right here, or option on the run flows for list if you're iterating through large lists of data. Now I want to be very careful. There is a bad paradigm that I've seen, is that a lot of people will run a run flows for list inside a run flows for list inside a run flows for list. This is something you want to heavily avoid. Never do this. The reason why is because you will thread job exhaust your server and it could go down. So that's why you don't want to just have a never-ending chain of run flows for list inside run flows for list, right? Use your run flow for list if you're batching through a lot of work, and then manage that work efficiently. And if you're on really large queues of work that you have to establish for the computer or your server, that's when you start looking at RabbitMQ, Azure Service Bus, and message queues so they can route those specific requests in an efficient manner. There is another step, the subflow step, or is it run flow? Go ahead, Alex.
Sorry. No, I wasn't.
Okay. I got you. I'll go ahead and mute you. There's also the run flow step that allows you to say, hey, I want to, where was it? There was an advanced, you run flow async and wait, which will say that this flow will run asynchronously and then it can return your data back. So that's another way you can accomplish that by using kind of the run flow step. There is also, I think, isn't there a go async step? There's a lot of async steps. There's a go async step, which I guess converts the process. I haven't messed with this step at all, very little. But basically a lot of what determines, I guess, its async behavior, I'll give you a little more detail, is that instead of running everything from the user context, decisions will at some point switch to the system context to maintain to be able to maintain progressing the process while showing the users who launched the process, hey, that they're done with it. So that's like a context switch. And so there's different steps that allow us to go into a different context, go async, switch to the system context, so that it can progress seamlessly without having to, drive the end user to, throughout the entire process. So yeah, these are a couple of steps that do it. Decisions, there will be so you may have seen this error. Let me do a show form step. No, that's not what I want. Pick existing. We'll do active form flow tests. So active form flows, when you go into active form flows, test, edit the rule, you'll notice that I won't be able to use forms inside of here. It will say oh, form is not selected. It should error out. Does it not? Interesting. It should throw an error. Unless there's I know what it is. No, I'm sorry. There's a specific error I want to show. Oh, I need this admin. I don't think this is possible. May have to test it. Maybe they fixed it. I don't think it's supposed to be fixed. Okay, that's just saying input data names. What I was trying to show, I was hoping to find it, but I did not find it, is that there is a process here that if you put it in here, it will actually say you can't add those steps because you can't add async steps inside of it. Something like that. I wanted to show that because sometimes decisions will utilize, like, we'll say async, and it could also mean like anything that pauses the workflow. Tasks, forms, right? Because it has to display something to the end user. So that might show you like, oh, hey, like you can't use async steps. And it could also just mean like anything that will pause the workflow in any shape or form. So that's kind of like a mediocre crash course of Go async or how async works in decisions. Okay, cool. Awesome. Now I'm curious. I want to find that error. I think it's in this one. Can I not? I don't think I can use forms. Or maybe I can. And there's no way. I don't think there's any way this works. Well, maybe I guess it could work that way. I don't know why it would. This one, yeah, no, it would work this way. What if I could use a converter flow? Maybe that's what it is. Converters. Converter. No, I want to recreate that error because I know you can do it. It's gonna bug me. All right, let's add a date. Date picker. Call it date data. Save. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, this is use a converter. Oh, I'm pretty sure you can't put forms in here. I know it's a system-wide. Oh, there's no errors. Okay, I can't find it. Man, I know it's there somewhere. It was, let's say, converters, conversion to date. Oh, there we go. Run a converter. Clear. Run a converter. Ha ha ha. Create one. My test converter. Test string. And let's do show forms. Show form. Pick existing. I think it's this one. Active form flow test. Yep, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Finally, I knew I could find it. No worries, Alex. You take care. This is what I was looking for. So over here it says active form flows test, right? Because this is like a special type of flow behavior, and it says this flow only allows synchronous steps. This type of step is not allowed. It's synchronous steps meaning like this will pause the workflow because it shows a form to a user. So, all right, I just wanted to show that because it's like I know this exists. I've seen it and I've messed around with this, but that's kind of what it is. Yep. All right, cool. Any other questions? All right, cool. I don't see any other questions. I will go ahead and end this call so that we can get this YouTube video mixed and uploaded. Tomorrow's person, Dylan Roberts from the professional services team, he'll be the one to answer your questions. So tomorrow is our last lunch and learn for this week. So definitely attend. Dylan can probably give you some really cool information from his many myriad of projects that he's built on the PS team. So without further ado, I'll see you guys next time.